Obama's war on retirement. That's what I'd like to talk about today. When you take the president's policies and you put them together, it really amounts to a war on retired people. It makes it almost impossible to retire. Start with his most fundamental policy, 0% interest rates. Now, when the economy was falling apart during the fiscal crisis of 2008 and 2009, and the Fed lowered interest rates to zero, well, that was an important thing to do because you needed to increase liquidity in the economy and you needed to try to avoid a severe Great Depression. But to maintain it at zero over the last 4 years and to announce that it will stay at zero in the indefinite future until years and years from now is basically telling the elderly you can't retire. It's basically saying your savings amount to nothing. Your investments amount to nothing. You get some annuities if you're lucky enough to have bought them, but even those companies are going to have trouble honoring the annuities without interest rates. You're going to get your pension, you're going to get your Social Security, and lots of luck. And you may have worked hard and diligently put aside a little bit each week or each month, and you may have saved $200,000 or $300,000 or $400,000, and you were hoping to make $20,000 or $30,000 or $40,000 or $50,000 a year to live on in your retirement because you postponed gratification and you built up your savings account. Well, lots of luck. Now you get effectively zero, 1%, 0.25%, 2%. Can't retire on that. And what is the reason Obama's doing that? Well, I think one part of it is that he wants people to be dependent on labor unions and government. That's why he can discipline their vote. If your private savings don't amount to anything, that is, they may exist, but you can't live off them, there's no earnings from them, you're dependent on pensions and government payments, right where the government wants you. And secondly, he's basically saying that we're going to tell everybody that the work of their lifetime, the work of their amassing money, means nothing in their old age. Now, at the same time that he's holding interest rates down to zero, he wants to increase the price of living index, the cost of living index. Decrease it by about 1 or 1.5% a year, so that your Social Security check effectively never goes up unless there's really huge inflation. And at the same time that he's cutting off any income from interest earnings, he's cutting back the cost of living adjustment on your Social Security. So that you really can't adjust your Social Security check to keep up with the pace of inflation. And while he's doing all of that, he's increasing premiums on Obamacare. He's cutting back managed health accounts, which gave people a financial break in terms of getting medication and paying for their medical costs. He's rationing health care through his Obamacare system. When you put it all together, it really amounts to a war on retired people. And the policy of zero interest rates is doing something else. Anytime you create free money, anytime you tell anyone you can have as much capital as you want, no fee attached, no interest rate, just come and get it, you're going to encourage speculation. Because investors aren't going to take and banks aren't going to take the free money and lend it out diligently to hard-working businesses for a limited return. Baloney. What they're going to do is take the money by the shovelful and throw it into risky bets in which they could make out huge amounts of money if they succeed and lose huge amounts if they fail. Why would they risk the failure? Because if they succeed, they get to keep it. And if they fail it, the government is going to pay for it in one of its bailouts. They say they socialize their losses, which means if they lose money, it's the government's deal. If they make money, they get to keep it. And you are incentivizing the worst form of speculation by not charging people money for access to capital. It's a terrible policy, a disastrous policy. And who's going to save anything if you don't have any interest rates? And as a result, people are investing in stocks that are marginal, that'll probably come crashing, junk quality stocks. They're desperate for a return because they can't get anything in regular interest rates. It's totally distorting the economy and setting up an economic crash. You know, this is an important week for me because I'm doing a new radio show every weekday afternoon from 2 to 6 on WPHT 1210 a.m. in Philadelphia. And if you live in the Philly region, you can just tune in. If you live outside, go to dickmorris.com and click on the link, and you can hear me live. And a lot of the topics I want to talk about, like this one, are really hard for me to really spend time on within the limited context of these videos or a TV appearance. So later today, from 2 to 6, I'm going to be talking about the government's war on retired people. Why don't you listen and call in, ask questions. And when you call in, tell them that you get my emails and my videos. Thanks a lot. So tune in later today, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks.